DocTalk is brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
Hi there and welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, and I'm sure glad you joined us today. For today's show, we have Professor Dr. Bob Larson, who's going to be here, and he's going to talk about breeding soundness exams on bulls. Proves to be a great show. We're glad you joined us. Stay tuned.
We've been using Multimin for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multimin was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multimin to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multimin.
This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Bob, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
It's always great to have you on the show. You bring us some great information, and today's going to be no different. But
I hope so.
First of all, what are some of the things you do here at K-State?
All right. Well, as a faculty member in the College of Veterinary Medicine, I actually have a couple of primary roles. One is teaching. I teach a number of different classes, one of them being reproduction, which is what we're going to talk about today. I also do a lot of research with beef cattle, looking at beef cattle disease control as well as reproduction and production enhancement in beef cattle.
Spending a lot of time with the students, don't you?
I do, and I get to work. I'm really fortunate in that I get to work with them all the way from freshman through their senior year. So I get some contact with the students all 4 years of their school year.
And it's one of the things that I think the viewers need to understand is that, what Dr. Larson's research and his outreach nationally and internationally in beef cattle, veterinary medicine, and beef production, we really appreciate all that you do.
K-State is a great place to be.
Glad to have you on the show today. We're going to talk about something that's pretty dang important if you're a beef producer, and that's breeding soundness exams in bulls. And
Absolutely.
Why do we do them?
Well, I think we all understand the reproductive aspect enough to know that we've got to have fertile bulls out there with our cows to have a good calf crop. Mm-hmm. Now, generally, we have about one mature bull for 30-35 cows. And if we're talking about younger bulls, yearling bulls, year-and-a-half-old bulls, you're talking 15 to 18 cows per bull.
That's how many they can cover.
That's how many they can cover. And obviously, if it is relatively rare to have an infertile bull, a bull that can get absolutely no cow pregnant. But what we're looking for is indications that a bull is subfertile. He doesn't get very many of those cows pregnant, which is a tremendous economic loss. And I mean, the reason we have these cows is to get them pregnant, get a good healthy calf on the ground, and we have to have fertile bulls to accomplish that.
What are we talking about here as far as number or percentage of bulls that are what we would call subfertile?
Yeah, it's really more than you might think. Depending on the surveys you read, somewhere between 10 and 20% of bulls are subfertile. In other words, they're not going to get that, cover that many cows effectively.
So it is. I mean, it's what we do our job for every day, is we take care of those cows so we have calves on the ground. And
that's right.
It's one of those things that's pretty inexpensive to make sure that you're not going to have issues.
It's a critical aspect to make sure that bull can get out there and do his job.
Not a very good feeling when it comes to falling your palpating cows and they're not.
If they're not pregnant, it's not a good day.
Right. So, in general, when do we start doing these breeding soundness exams on bulls, or what time of the year, or how close to the breeding season?
Yeah. Well, really what we want to do is we want to make sure that the bulls we turn out to the breeding pasture are sound and are likely to do a good job out there. So we don't want to do that too early, because if we test him several months before the breeding season, well, things can get worse between then and the start of the breeding season. But we also want to give us a little bit of time, in that if he doesn't pass, but it looks like maybe it was a temporary problem, we want to give him a little bit of time, recheck him before the start of the breeding season.
Right, that's good.
Or if he flat fails, I need a little bit of time to go out and buy a replacement. So generally what we tell people is to go about a month ahead of the breeding season for kind of an ideal time to check these bulls.
I think that's perfect. When we come back from break, we're going to discuss this more with Dr. Larson. You're watching DocTalk.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
If our local animal agriculture industry disappeared, what else would disappear? The buses that get us to school? The playgrounds and ballparks we go to after school? The books and computers that help us learn and grow? Animal agriculture provides millions of dollars in tax revenue that pay for our school improvements, that pave the foundation that will build our future. A message from U.S. soybean farmers and their checkoff.
We've been using the multi-min on our donor cows, and after we started using it on them, we've seen a definite increase in grade number 1 embryos. I like the results that I get using multi-min with the AI conception rate.
Their minerals not up to snuff, you're going to have problems, and I definitely think multi-min is good for, general healthiness of the cattle.
We think multi-min more than pays for itself.
America's ranchers and farmers have had a long-standing commitment to quality, and now the Checkoff-funded Beef Quality Assurance Program is working with you to improve our product for consumers. At bqa.org, you'll find an array of educational materials about BQA. You can also take our online course for BQA certification. BQA, it's a commitment to quality, it's a process for continuous improvement, and it's about doing the right thing.
This segment is brought to you by your Beef Quality Assurance Program, BQA, building consumer trust through your commitment to quality. Learn more at bqa.org.
Welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Bob Larson, who's a professor of clinical sciences at Kansas State University's College of Veterinary Medicine. And we're discussing breeding soundness exams in bulls. And so I bring my bull to your clinic. What are you going to do?
What are we going to do? Well, a breeding soundness exam starts with just a good physical exam. In other words, I need a bull that's healthy. Can't have respiratory disease, can't have arthritis in the legs, joints. He has to be healthy. He's going to have to walk a lot of miles to cover the pasture to look for cows. So I just do a good physical exam to start with. Then, because we're specifically talking about reproductive health, we will palpate the reproductive organs. So the testicles, the internal, the prostate, the internal reproductive organs. Examine the penis carefully to make sure it doesn't have any damage or problems, those kinds of things. So, a good physical exam with special emphasis on the reproductive tract. Mm-hmm. Well, then we get a semen sample from the bull, and we'll look at that under the microscope. And we will evaluate, make sure that the sperm cells are healthy, that they're made correctly, because what we're really looking for under that microscope is if there's any damage to the reproductive tract, if there's any damage to the testicles, it will show up as poorly made sperm cells, and we can see those on the microscope.
Let's go back to the, I know that we're going to make sure that we have no lameness.
Right.
No wheels, no calves.
That's right.
And then we're going to go into, when you're palpating the testicles and scrotum, mm-hmm. what are you looking for? What are some of the common issues that could arise?
Yeah. Well, when there's the things that can damage testicles are basically, think of stress. So stress will reduce testosterone levels, and as testosterone levels drop, then the testicles degenerate. Okay. And so anything that causes stress, particularly starvation, severe weather stress will cause a short-term drop in testosterone and some changes in the testicles. So what we're feeling for when we palpate is if they've been degenerated, they will be a little bit softer than normal. Okay. So we're looking for indications that they're softer than normal. Generally, those bulls will recover. Once the stressful episode is over, they may go through a period when they're not as fertile as they should be, and that's what we're concerned about. But then given enough time, they should return and those testicles will palpate more normally again, and we look under the microscope and the sperm cells are normal again. But once in a while, you actually get fibrosis or fiber laid down in the testicles. That's not going to get better anytime soon. And in that case, the testicles will palpate, or they will feel harder than they should. So this is the Goldilocks scenario. We don't want them too soft or too hard. They're supposed to be just right.
That's right. Well, what about, I see you get your tape measure out.
Yes.
And you measure the circumference of the scrotum.
Yes.
What are we doing
What
there?
are we doing there?
Yeah, well, I know what we're doing there, but we might want to tell the viewers what we're doing there.
One of the things that we've discovered about bulls and most males is they'll actually produce the same number of sperm cells per gram of testicle. So the bulls that have bigger testicles produce more sperm. And so we use a tape measure, and we set a minimum cutoff for bulls of different ages. They have to have testicles at least a certain size, or we're really concerned that they won't produce enough sperm. Even if those sperm are correctly made, if there's not enough of them, we'll run into some problems.
Well, I think that it's important to understand, it seems like a real easy process, and you see the veterinarian going through this and blah, 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 and everything's good. But I think it's important for our viewers to understand that there's some science and that's backing this.
There's been a lot of research looking at male fertility, and so we've learned a lot in the last 50 years, but it is an important part of making sure we get those cows pregnant.
You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
Be ready for breeding soundness exams with Neogen's new and improved ElectroJack 6. Features a new wireless design, improved waterproofing, and more power for quicker and easier collections. Its newly designed probe features a tapered angle for easier insertion, and new rubberized material adds durability. ElectroJack 6 can be used with rams, boars, and bulls of all sizes. To order or for more information, contact Neogen at 800-621-8829 or your local animal health distributor.
Here in Dallas, we're proud that our vehicles use an advanced biofuel called biodiesel. It's made from renewable resources like soybean oil, canola oil, even recycled cooking oil. This year, biodiesel will displace almost 1 billion gallons of fossil fuel nationwide. Our air is cleaner, our economy is stronger, and America's more energy independent. It's working here, it can work in your community. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300LA from Norbrook, specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle. Noromycin 300LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300LA is the practical choice for your herd.
This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Noromycin LA, Normectin Plus, 1%, and Poron, the practical choice for your herd. Hi there and welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, joined by my friend and colleague, Dr. Bob Larson, who's the Coleman Chair and is a professor in the Clinical Sciences Department here at Kansas State University. And really appreciate you taking time to come and spend it with us this morning. And what we need to discuss is we're talking about breeding soundness exams in bulls. And during the break, we discussed that there may be some differences between yearlings and mature bulls.
Right. When I'm called out there to examine bulls, there's a couple of situations that are the most common. One is we're looking at young bulls who have never bred cows before. So this will be their first breeding season. Well, you think about the kinds of things that I'm investigating in those bulls. I don't know for sure that they are fertile at all. They have not proven that they can get cows pregnant. They've only recently gone through puberty. And as bulls, as they go through puberty, the testosterone levels, prior to puberty are very low. And then as they come closer and closer and go through puberty, the testosterone levels rise. We talked about before, stress can cause low testosterone levels. Well, just being young causes low testosterone levels. And we see the same types of things in that the sperm cells are made incorrectly until the testosterone levels get high enough. And of course, those young bulls don't all mature at the same stage.
Right.
So we're usually wanting to turn those bulls out and have them start breeding at 14, 15, 16 months of age. Some of them have reached puberty several months ago, and they should do great in the breeding pastures. Others are a little bit slower to mature, and maybe when I want them to go out and start breeding, they've either just reached puberty or they're not even quite there yet. So when I examine these young bulls, I'm really asking the question, two questions. One is, are they fertile at all, because there's a certain percentage that just will stay poorly fertile. Others will be fine, but they're just kind of young. They're the slower to mature, and they may not be ready when I want them to start, and they're going to have to wait to breed cows, a few months down the road.
And it's kind of changed, where we used to have those bulls being 2.
Exactly.
And now we're moving them back to 14 to 16 months of age when we're asking them to go out and perform the first time.
That's exactly right. We know these young bulls can get cows pregnant. Not as many. They can't cover as many as a 2-year-old bull. One of the reasons we like these younger bulls is they should be the best genetics in the herd if we're making genetic progress. So I'd sure like to use them if we can. But we need to understand that they're young. There's some other things we think about. Generally, the foot and leg types of problems we'd see in a young bull would be, I just don't like his structure. And so he's not going to get better with that and probably needs to leave the breeding herd. The other thing is, like I said, they're young and they're still maturing. So I want to examine that reproductive tract really closely, make sure that he's developed appropriately and that he can get cows pregnant.
Yeah, and I think that, you're exactly right. This is an investment in the future. And we want to make sure that we use the young bulls appropriately and not overuse them.
Exactly.
And damage them. Great information today. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. Maybe we'll move on to those older bulls.
Yeah.
And
I think we should talk about older bulls because they've got a different set of problems.
You bet. So we'll come back. Thanks for watching Doc Talk. We'll be back in a minute. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production. This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations.
From Kansas State University, this is Agriculture Today. Treating wheat straw with anhydrous ammonia can convert this otherwise poor quality forage into a useful winter feedstuff for beef cattle. K-State beef cattle nutritionist Dale Blassie says that if dry weather persists, ammoniating wheat straw may end up being a viable option for producers.
I encourage producers to do a hard count on how many large drum bales are in their feeding lots and plan ahead and look for some buying options today. The way the weather pattern's shaping and everything, who's to say? If it continues to rain in your particular area, it may not even be necessary to consider ammoniation. However, if you're going to run short on feed, this is certainly another option that you can pull out of the toolbox to use.
This is K-State Research and Extension.
Cow-calf, stocker, and feedlot producers know that effective parasite control improves overall herd performance and profitability. Norbrook offers a comprehensive, economical line of pour-on and injectable parasiticides for every livestock operation. Consult with your local animal health supplier to set up a program that protects your investment and brings larger cattle checks this fall. See for yourself why the Noramectin line from Norbrook is the practical choice for your herd.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
This segment is brought to you by Double D Family Mat Shop. Injured livestock could mean injured profits. Protect yours with no-slip mats from Double D Family Mat Shop.
Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine, joined by Dr. Bob Larson. And Dr. Larson is a professor here in clinical sciences and works with beef cattle issues on research, teaching, repro, disease, all around the world. And today, we're discussing breeding soundness exams in bulls.
That's right.
We've talked about the young bulls. Now it's time to talk about the old bulls.
Let's talk about the old bulls. Well, they've got a different set of problems than our young bulls, or potential problems than our young bulls. We know that they can get cows pregnant. They got cows pregnant last year. So we're not asking the question, can they get cows pregnant? It's, can they still get cows pregnant?
Right.
If you think about, again, I said earlier in the show that stress can damage the testicles. You'll drop the testosterone levels and you'll get some changes in those testicles. So just because he got cows pregnant well last year, if he's had a stressful winter, weather stress, nutritional stress, maybe he was sick for a while, had a little pneumonia, something like that, that is the types of things that will drop testosterone levels, and then we get into some problems with sperm production. So I know he can get cows pregnant,
right,
but a lot can happen between last year and this year. So I want to look at that real carefully. The other thing is, when you're talking about older bulls, things like arthritis, some foot problems, those kinds of things that just get, the changes that happen with age as they get older, the chance for injury or other problems, then that, again, just because he got cows pregnant last year, I want to examine him real closely to make sure he can still do it this year.
How long do bulls last? I mean, what's the general rule of thumb, or how many years in production do we utilize bulls usually?
There's a couple of parts of that answer. It's pretty common for bulls to stay in a herd 4 or 5 years. One of the reasons it could be longer, but a lot of times now we're starting to get daughters of those bulls back in the herd, and we don't want to do line breeding or inbreeding, and so we'll rotate out and bring in new bulls. But I really like to get my bulls at least 4 or 5 years of good service, and in different situations, by rotating the bulls, I might be able to get even some longer time out of that.
Any closing thoughts or comments on breeding soundness exams?
Yeah. I just want to emphasize how important it is to make sure that the bulls are fertile. Obviously we need both fertile cows that are in good body condition, they're ready to get out and get pregnant, so they're healthy and ready to go. But having all the cows fertile and ready to go, if that bull is subfertile or not going to be able to do his job well, or maybe he's got good semen quality but his arthritis, feet problems, those kinds of things, he's not going to get very many cows pregnant.
Right.
And we've got to make sure that bull is ready to start the breeding season in good shape.
You bet. And I think that resting them before and working with the local veterinarian, of course, is always important.
Yes, we want them in just the right body condition score. We want them, to be housed well over the winter. There's a lot of aspects to make sure that these bulls are ready when the breeding season starts.
Well, thanks a million for joining us today. It's been a great show, a wealth of information on a very, very important topic for the beef industry.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for watching DocTalk. Remember, if you want to know more about what Dr. Larson and I do here at the College of Veterinary Medicine, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Dr. Larson and I both recommend that you work with your local practitioner, especially on issues like discussed today. Thanks for watching DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine. We're glad you joined us, and we'll see y'all down the road. Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from DocTalk. Join me next week as we discuss Johne's disease in cattle with Dr. Matt Meisner. We'll discuss things such as which animals are at risk, how they acquire the bacterium, and what causes it, how to diagnose it, and what is the most effective way to prevent it from getting in your herd. Dr. Meisner is an assistant clinical professor here at Kansas State University. So please join me on DocTalk right here on RFD TV, and I'll see you down the road.
DocTalk was brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
We've been using Multimin for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multimin was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multimin to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multimin.